What is up, folk nerds? We are doing an NFL team Super Bowl need tier list. I know that was a bit of a mouthful. I'll try and fix it up a bit. But this is a tier list ranking teams based on how much they need to win the Super Bowl. This isn't necessarily if I think they'll win the Super Bowl. This is based on their need. How about, let's start off with the Bills. I think this is an easy no, they're not F tier. They are easy S tier. This team needs to win. They were top of S tier last year. This year they went down a bit, but they still need it because Josh Allen, top 3 quarterback in the league, wasted a big chunk of his prime, hasn't been able to get back to the AFC Championship game, hasn't made a Super Bowl He hasn't made it to a Super Bowl. This team has been constantly disappointing in the postseason, and they don't have as many expensive contracts as they did last season. But Josh Allen isn't getting any younger, and he isn't getting any cheaper. That is a big thing with this. And the Bills, they're a tortured fan base. The 4 in a row thing, that was bad. This team is tortured. Let's see, who else do we have? Browns. I think this is a B tier team. I mean, on the one hand, they haven't won a Super Bowl, but also this team isn't. They aren't to be great. They are a good team. They have a bunch of great defensive players. I'm sure many people would love to see Nick Chubb get the ring. Njoku. I don't know if many people want to see Deshaun Watson get a ring. Maybe if they have a more likable quarterback, I could throw them in A tier. Next, we have the Rams. I think this is an S tier for me because this team just won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Most of their legacy players got their legacy ring. Sean McVay got his ring. Basically, everybody there except for their new young studs, but those people got time. I mean, they were going to be okay. Next, Cowboys. This team, A tier. I don't think that many people want to see the Cowboys win the Super Bowl. It's also haven't made it back to the NFC Championship. I mean, at this point, an NFC Championship appearance would be the same thing as Super Bowl in my book for the Dallas Cowboys. This team hasn't made it back since the 90s. Jalen Hurts' entire life, they haven't made it to an NFC Championship game, let alone a Super Bowl. This team has been so good, so consistently, but choked it in the postseason. YouTube, don't demonetize me for that. This team, a lot of expensive contracts, especially with that Dak contract coming in. That's going to be rough. I was hearing something that could be $60 million. It would be a Cowboys move to pay Dak $60 million. That'd be ridiculous. He hasn't been that good. Next. Chiefs, I think, are easy F tier. They just did back-to-back Super Bowl wins. Almost everybody on their roster has gotten the ring. Andy Reid gotten his 3 rings. Patrick Mahomes is already, I think he's a top 3 quarterback all time already. I basically go Brady, Montana, Mahomes. He doesn't. I mean, if the Chiefs don't win a Super Bowl for the next decade, I don't think it'll be too bad. Their fan base is not tortured. Their fan base has been doing amazing recently. They can afford a little hardship. Next. How about let's talk about the Niners. I think they're another S tier situation here. They, like the Bills, heavily underperforming. They have their roster is so good, but it's also, that roster is not going to be held together for many more years. Their window, they need to win that Super Bowl. Basically, it's make a move, or they need to make moves at this point. They need the Super Bowl win. It's Super Bowl or bust year in, year out, and they just haven't been able to get over the hump. Who do we have next? How about let's talk about the Eagles, D tier. This team, They just won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. Most of their team that won that Super Bowl isn't there anymore. I'm sure Jalen Hurts, that would help his legacy to get a ring. I'm sure they're like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, one players on that defense. Love to get that ring. The coach isn't really that likable, so that doesn't really help them that much. They're not a very likable team. Their fan base isn't really that likable, so it's not like they need success or anything. They've been doing all right for this thing. How about Panthers? Panthers are B tier. On one hand, their team is not expected to be good, but on the other hand, they have not won a Super Bowl. They've been consistently bad for most of their existence. They had that Cam Newton run that didn't wind up getting them their ring. But it's also, they're only B tier because they're not expected to be good. Most of their team is super young. They got time. What else do we gotta say? Yeah, I think that's enough for them. Lions. Let's see. Easy S tier. I think this is at the top of S tier right now because they were so close last year. And they just fell short of making the Super Bowl. Because this team, most tortured fan base in the league, they've been bad. I think last time they were good was I think a T-Rex was their quarterback with a mummy and like Frankenstein's monster or something like that. Like they have not been good in so long. They have so many players we'd love to see get a ring. I mean, screw the Cowboys. The Lions are America's team. Everybody loves the Lions. Even NFC North fans, like Vikings fans, Bears fans, Packers fans, even they like them. Speak of them, the Bears, I think, are C tier. This team has won a Super Bowl. That's the only thing keeping them out of B tier. They only won the one, and that was like 40 years ago. And they are super young, so that does help them. Especially since Caleb Williams, basically, once we see him play, once you see how this team functions, if they become a sweetheart team, maybe they can get themselves into a higher tier. Who else do I want to talk about now? We got, I think, Ravens. I think I'm going to put them in A tier because this is a team, like the Bills and Niners, consistently good, consistently underperforms. I think Lamar Jackson, if he wins a Super Bowl, I think he's automatically Hall of Fame. He has the 2 MVPs. He has probably some rushing records. I don't know any of the specific records that he has, but I'm sure he has something or will get something this season. Derrick Henry, would love to see him get the ring in Tennessee, but I mean, Tennessee was like S tier a couple years back. But now we've got the Ravens. This team is in win now mode, and they need to get that. Basically, they need to get the ring, but the only thing keeping them out of S tier is they won that ring with Joe Flacco, and that Harbaugh does have a ring. And they're not meaning to move the Eagles. They stay where they are. I think I'm going to put the Giants in C tier. This team, they have won. This is my team. They have won a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I was not conscious enough to know that my team not won a Super Bowl. Dable, it'd be nice to see him get a ring, but Daniel Jones, not it. Saquon's gone. Darren Waller wasn't good when he was with us, but he ain't here no more. We don't really have that much going for us, and we won it in the last decade, the last 20 years, so we'll stay in C tier. I think I'm gonna throw the Bucs in F tier, mainly because same reason I threw the Eagles in D tier. I think the Bucs can make it up to D tier after the season. But this team, they won the Super Bowl with Brady. A lot of the team that played with Brady is still there. I'm sure Baker Mayfield, it would be great to see him get a ring because it's been a crazy journey. He's been a feel-good story, I think, since basically his entire career. Yeah, but they have recent success. So there are a lot of teams who probably should win a ring before them. It was based off of need. And I think another easy F tier, Patriots. again, like the Chiefs, if they didn't win Super Bowl for another 10 years, they would be fine. They got so much success with Brady. They're not paying for it now. I'm sure a lot of people are happy with their karma, but they don't really need anything. Maybe they become likable after this season. I don't see it happening. I don't see this team becoming likable ever again. This year was getting kind of long, so let's try to speed the process up. What am I thinking for this deal? I'm thinking Steelers. B tier. They have Justin Fields and Russell. They have a lot of firepower on this team. Also, it'd be nice to see Mike Tomlin get another ring. Show that he's not the best bad coach of all time, because he's been way too mushy middle. As well as they have a bunch of good players on their team. They bulked up a lot this offseason. They've kind of just been there a lot of the time. I feel like a Super Bowl would help them out, but it's also they have a lot of success, so they don't. But it's not like a big need. But I'm sure I'd love to see my Steelers get a Super Bowl. Who else do we have? I guess I'm gonna throw the Broncos in D tier. This team, they won the Super Bowl with Manning. Other than that, they've been very bad. Being a Broncos fan the last decade, it's been pretty miserable. I've seen what done to Perna. But Sean Payton isn't really likable. He got his ring with New Orleans. I'll get to the Saints later, but he got his ring. Bo Nix is young. This team has almost no star power. They're not really that likable. So, D tier, they got their Super Bowl. I think I'm going to throw the Cardinals C tier. I think this team, Kyler Murray is getting up there in age, and I mean, he's not really in a contract year of any sort. I mean, they can move on for him after this season. We've been saying it for the last 3 seasons that that would be his last season in the Red Sea. Most of their team's very young, they haven't been good. They're not really, again, I hate to keep bringing this up, but they're not likable. Nobody really wants them to win a Super Bowl. They haven't won one, despite the fact that they're of them being OGs. Speaking of an OG, the Jets. S tier. This team needs it. They got Rodgers. They got Wilson. They got, not Zach, Garrett. They got that running back that's super. Brees Hall. They got Sauce Gardner. This team is so good. And they have not won a Super Bowl since your grandpa was young. Yeah, this team has just not been good. They've been the laughingstock in New York. New York's just been a laughingstock. But this has been a prime reason for it. This team's constantly gone in their own way. Most of their current fans were not alive to see their last Super Bowl win. And they played the Colts. So that just shows how old they were. Let's see. Who am I thinking next? How about the Titans? Let's throw them in C tier. This team, they're very young. Will Levis, I mean, he's been kind of controversial with the Mayo Man thing, but other than that, he's not really, hateable. They got Calvin Ridley. I mean, losing Derrick Henry does hurt them, but I guess it's good for the future because they're not in win now mode. That's big. They're very much developing. A lot of the teams in this tier are in a rebuild right now. So when you're rebuilding, you don't really need that Super Bowl ring. You're not really expected to. Your neck's not really on the line. But someone's neck who is on the line, the Falcons. Not the Dolphins. We'll talk about them later. Falcons. 8 tier. This team winning big for Kirk Cousins. They have so much young talent. And yet their GM made the stupidest decision I've ever seen in drafting Michael Penix Jr. X with an X. YouTube algorithm. yeah, this team is in win now mode. I don't think it's gonna pan out for them, but they've been kind of tortured after the 28-3 thing. Yeah, their fan base has been put through the ringer. I will put someone else put in A tier is the Texans. This may seem a little bit preemptive because the team is also very young, but also the fact they haven't won that Super Bowl. Same thing with the Falcons, they haven't won a Super Bowl, but the Texans, they haven't won a Super Bowl. They win it all in Stephon Diggs for 1 year, so they're now kind of trying to get a win now mode. It may just be CJ Stroud's development, but I think this is a Super Bowl or bust type move on their end. So now they're going all in. I think they're A tier. They are a very likable team. I think the most likable team in the AFC, but the Lions own the league for likability. Throw the Commanders in C tier. Same thing. Start of a rebuild. I know I clicked on Dolphins earlier, and the Dolphins I'm going to also throw an S tier. This team just needs a playoff win. Well, I saw what the Cowboys about them making the NFC Championship. The Dolphins, the bar's even lower. Just win a playoff game. This team is, there are people who could drink alcohol who weren't alive when the Dolphins won their last playoff game. They had the 17-0 season. They're probably the lowest in S tier, but they have Tua's contract's going to be pricey. Tyreek Hill is not going to be cheap, even if he does. If he decides to come back, Jalen Waddle's contract was a mouthful. They have so many pricey contracts. So, and their offense have been so good, but they just haven't been able to win a playoff game. Let's see, how about Chargers B tier? This is literally just because of Justin Herbert that they've wasted so much of his prime. And they've just been so bad. I will also throw the Vikings in B tier for this same reason. Because they've wasted so much of Jay Jetta's prime. Like, this team was an S tier last year, but now they got J.J. McCarthy. That does reset the clock. Now they're in more of a rebuilding mode. Which, it is that what if Kirk Cousins didn't get injured? Let's see, let's try to shorten up this video. We only got 7 teams left. Who do we got? Seahawks. How about C tier? They won a Super Bowl recently, but Geno Smith is a likable story, but he's kind of fallen off. They have a new coach. I'd love to see DK get a ring. Other than that, they're just kind of there right now. So, my final S tier. This is probably my biggest S tier. I don't really like putting that many teams in S tier, but the Bengals are S tier for me because this team, Joe Burrow, someone would pretty much love to see a Super Bowl. This team is so close. Jamar Chase, Joe is not going to be cheap. They're probably not going to have T. Higgins the season after next. And they're going to wind up like the Bills, and all those moves are going to come back to bite them if they can't put it all together. I was going to throw the Jags in A tier because Trevor Lawrence's contract, that was bad. Defensive contract, never won a ring before. Expectations are starting to get high, so they need to win they're getting up there and need to win the ring. My thoughts on my last 4 teams. Sorry. What do I think? I'm stalling long enough. Colts, I'll throw them in the rebuilding C tier. They got Anthony Richardson. They're rebuilding. They don't really need to win the ring, but they had their success with the Peyton Manning era. But it'd be nice to see some of these players win a ring, like Quentin Nelson and Michael Pittman. Final 3. I'll throw the Packers in B tier because this team They have so much success, but none of Super Bowl rings. In the Rodgers era, maybe Jordan Love will fall into the same curse of winning one Super Bowl ring and then none else. Final two teams, we got the Raiders, C tier. They don't really got much going for them except for Max Crosby. He is carrying this team. And Devontae Adams, I'm sure he would love to get a ring. Saints, I'll throw the Saints in D tier, mainly because there's nothing on their team that's really awe-inspiring. Probably too low, but C tier is looking kind of crowded. So I'll throw them there. Yeah. Hit that like button, subscribe button, hit the bell notification to be notified when I upload next, and please use my affiliate link. It helps me out a lot. See you in the next one. Peace.